Well, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has made his first public comments since the widespread protests led by the youth-led Cockroach Junta Party over the leak of exam papers. A day after the country's education minister resigned, Mr. Modi vowed to fast-track the court process to punish those responsible and announced a new task force to oversee exam reforms. It is a rare concession for the ruling BJP, but is it enough to satisfy those who've been demanding change? Well, Soni Mishra is the deputy editor at Frontline magazine, and she joins me now from New Delhi. Soni, good to have you with us this evening. Firstly, what's been made of the Prime Minister's statement on social media overnight? Because firstly, he didn't mention the Cockroach Junta Party by name, but clearly, because it was filmed in a vertical fashion, clearly aimed at the young audience in India.
Well, it is clear that the government actually realizes the huge political costs that it could have incurred because of the growing protests. And we can see that the government is working overtime in sort of trying to assuage the concerns of the youth and the issues that were raised by the protesters. And we've seen a slew of measures that have been unrolled by the government in the last 2 or 3 days. And this is like a damage control exercise, and we have the Prime Minister sort of in the lead of this damage control exercise. And what is interesting also is that he's taken to Instagram on more than one occasion, in the last couple of days to sort of address the youth directly and tell them what the government is planning to do. And some of the measures, like you outlined, the fast-track courts that the government plans to set up, the new law that the government is planning to bring in to sort of provide for stronger punishment for those involved in paper leaks. And yesterday, in his monthly radio address to the people, which is known as Man Ki Baat, which in English means straight from the heart, it was all about the contributions made by the young people. It was all dedicated to the youth. So we can see that the messaging is all being directed at damaging the control, damaging basically what they felt was going to be the political costs that the government and the ruling BJP would have had to pay as a result of the protest. And the centerpiece of this entire exercise is the exam reform process, the task force that the Prime Minister has announced. It's a 6-member task force, and it comprises some really highly regarded names. It's headed by a technocrat who is a co-founder of the Infosys. It's an IT company. And he was the man behind the unique ID program of India. And then we have a scientist, the former chairman of the Space Research Organization. We have educationists in the committee, bureaucrats who have been working in the education sector, in the education ministry in the past. So on the face of it, it's a well-rounded committee and a robust sort of a solution that the government seems to have offered. But then obviously there will be questions. One main question that is being asked right now is, what about the recommendations made by a similar committee, which was set up 2 years ago in similar circumstances in the backdrop of another paper leak which had taken place?
Yes. So in this case, when we are seeing the different reforms that are being proposed, but also that he wants to fast-track court cases to perhaps bring people to account, would it be enough? Are those measures that were announced by the Prime Minister overnight, are they going to be enough to satisfy, those thousands of young Indians that were protesting in Delhi?
Well, that's an interesting question, because was paper leak really the main issue that they were, wanting a solution to? No. Maybe the paper leak was a trigger for these protests to take place. The paper leak, combined with the statement made by Chief Justice of India, Suryakant, resulted in the formation of the Cockroach Junta Party, and the Cockroach Junta Party then spearheading this movement. But when you look at the protests, I think simmering right under the surface is a huge unrest over the issue of unemployment. I think the CJP-led protests provided a forum for the expression of the frustration of the youth over a range of issues, not limited to just paper leaks. It was about unemployment. It was about their fears, their concern that perhaps they were staring at this really uncertain future, and this growing feeling that the system was not able to provide any solutions to those concerns, those fears, and also that maybe it was not even fully equipped to understand their concerns.
So
So I think
in that vein, do you expect perhaps this movement, this so-called Cockroach movement, and the party itself that was formed, somewhat in a satirical manner, do you believe that the pressure from these groups and the Gen Z in general will persist for some time to come?
Absolutely. I mean, the protesters might have wound up their protests in New Delhi and they might have all gone back home. But I'm sure they carry a little bit of jantar mantar, that the site of the protest in New Delhi carry a small part of it back home with them. And those concerns persist. And maybe not we may not see them expressing their concerns in the form of a full-blown protest that we saw recently, but electorally I think this is expected to play out, and that was like a very big concern for the BJP also, for it to agree to make such a major concession in the form of the resignation of the education minister. So there was this feeling that the political costs was just mounting too high for them to ignore the demand being made by the protesters. So yeah, the way this is expected to play out politically has to be watched.
Yes, and one of the things he said was to fast track these court cases. So do you believe perhaps more high-ranking figures, perhaps in the education ministry, but also the education department, but also the education minister who has just resigned, will they be facing criminal allegations?
As of now, only as somebody in the Cockroach Janata Party-led protest said, after some arrests were made and some heads were made to roll in the National Testing Agency, the organization that conducts these tests, was that these are small fry. So obviously the people at the top, or the top-ranking bureaucrats who were actually manning the process, one may not expect them to be taken to task, not at least in the recent future.
Yes, and what do you make of the Cockroach Janata Party itself and its leader Abhijit Dipka? Do you see that movement continuing to grow, and perhaps would he formalize a political party that might contest in future elections?
Yeah, so there's a lingering speculation about the future of CJP, whether it's going to become a full-fledged political party. That question has been put to the leadership of the CJP, and they don't rule it out. And so we're going to see more of them in the coming days, definitely. I happened to meet Abhijit Dipke some time back during the protests, and I asked him what happens after Dharmendra Pradhan resigns. What is going to be your next course of action? So he said that the CJP will go to other cities. They will hold interactions with the youth in other parts of the country. So they will continue to ensure that they are there, in the public eye. And who knows, they might form a political party. They're not ruling it out.
Okay, Sonny Mishra, really good to get your insights there from New Delhi. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me over.